What it is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission Podcast. This is your boy Dave, signing on this lovely, lovely weekday evening. Of course, it's getting a little bit warmer out here. This polar vortex has disappeared faster than, say, Nicki Minaj's chances of going back to the Grammys. But in any event, you know, we're gonna have some fun with this. I like if she listens to this, I'm in Akir, go on your business. But anyways, follow us on the socials, uh, both Twitter and Instagram at Toronto Third. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell because we be hitting you with bear videos every week. Anyways, got the right hand of the king himself, Avery McDougal in the building. It's just a two-man power trip in the building tonight. Avery, what's going on as we have you on the ones and twos?
Yeah, you mentioned a two-man power trip. I have a stronger ACL than Triple H, by the way.
I'm dead.
My quads won't snap in the walls of Jericho.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. No, you good though?
I'm good. I'm good. Finally, days are getting longer. Ice is melting here because, again, people who keep saying winter is the best season, no, it's not. It's terrible. It's awful. I don't know how y'all be enjoying, um, black ice, icy sidewalks, -25. Nah, forget
Right?
that.
Like, listen, I like the faster this melts, the faster we get to sundress season, and that's all I'm excited for.
This guy.
Listen, sundress
Yo,
season, basketball jerseys, baseball jerseys, fucking jean shorts, and just just
Caravana.
and banner run one time. Anyways,
Yeah.
anyways, we got a nice little show for you real quick. Of course, we're gonna talk about the Leafs West Coast road trip. Um, the Stadium Series game between Boston and Tampa Bay that happened back on, I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday. And obviously, with the Olympics coming up, we got to look at, say, the North American prospect of everything. Who has more pressure on them, Canada or the United States? We're going to discuss that all tonight. First things first, let's go into the obvious elephant of the room, and that is the Leaf Dem. Of course, the Leafs managed to finally get themselves their first win in 7 games on Saturday night as they defeated the Vancouver Canucks in a shootout. Now, of course, they still have that road trip. They still have that road trip going as they're currently playing. They'll be playing in Calgary later tonight. In fact, by the time this episode's finished, they'll be just getting underway at Scotiabank Saddledome. But Avery, is this just a band-aid solution to the Leafs' problems right now? Because like obviously Nylander has gotten back into the lineup,
Mhm.
um, and it's starting to look like the Leafs are going to become sellers at this point, which is a massive point of contention with not only Leafs fans on social media but also Leafs media in general.
Yeah, with the Leafs being sellers, like it was mentioned on Hockey and Canada, Elliot Friedman said that he'd heard they're going to be sellers. So what I'm seeing online is half the Leafs fan base saying, you know what, we can still get back. Actually, probably more. It's probably more than less. There's probably, I think it's probably more 60-40 Leaf fans saying we can still get back into it, and the other 60% saying, you know what, it's time. We're done. We're not making it. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I probably it's probably more like 70-30 in that sphere of Leaf fans admitting this season is done. Because yes, they did beat Vancouver, and yes, still have games on this trip against Calgary and Edmonton before the break, but there's a lot of ground to make up. There's a lot of teams to try and get past to get into a wild card spot. And if you're the Leafs right now, and you're Leafs right now, you're realizing, you know what, this is not our year. You know what? It makes sense to get the fan base ready from now instead of trying to be that team that tries to have that false hope push, and you
Mm-hmm.
end up 2 or 3 points out with a horrible drop position next year or next summer.
Well, here's the other issue that we have. Boston happens to have our first round pick. And
That's right.
unless we actively do something about it, something tells me that, like the Leafs faithful right now, they're going to be even more pissed off if, say, we don't do anything about that. And I think it's going to have to come down to, essentially selling off a piece or two in order to be able to make sure that we can get our draft pick back.
Mm. Yeah, and the big thing now is what do the Leafs do? 'Cause I mean, we've heard before the idea of dealing a Bobby McMahon or Brandon Carlo. Those are two
Mm-hmm.
names I've heard in talks for a trade because really, who else is it? There's no one else really gonna actually touch. It's not gonna be Matthews or Nylander or Tavares. It really is between those two in terms of who the Leafs are going to possibly shop come the trade deadline or sooner.
I mean, there aren't too many players within our minor league system that are worth trading as well. So that's the other thing that we have to take into consideration. Like, unless say the Leafs want to get rid of Hildeby and stick with Stolars and Wall as your 1-2 going forward, and then of course having a couple goaltenders built up, say through the ECHL system, or seeing who we can grab off of waivers. Um, it's not looking so great in regards to Trey's prospects because, like, we know we're gonna have to either get rid of Robertson at one point or another, unless he's like an untouchable at this point. Come trade deadline next month. There's also the fact that it's like Stetcher is also an option. Michelli, considering he's been underperforming, like he's practically on the chopping block. Like there are so many different options that we have to deal with in this situation where the Leafs are going to have to consider, like, okay, do we get rid of this player? Do we get rid of this player? Who are we keeping out of our core players? Because we know Riley's essentially done after this year. The guy's been here 10 years and yet still, you know, unless he finds someone to actually like complement them, especially on the top pairing of the defense core, I feel like his days are numbered as a Leaf.
Yeah, it seems like Morgan Riley's time is more than likely going to come to an end next year. So there's a few questions to be asked about this roster. There's a few questions to be asked in terms of what this team is going to do. I've heard some people suggesting even Andy Stolars could be in a deal somewhere, but this is a year where I think Leaf fans and Leafs Nation didn't want this to be a throwaway year. I think a lot of people saw this as a fresh start post Mitch Marner. And yeah, it's been a fresh start in quotation marks, but this restart without Marner has seen
Mm-hmm.
this team just struggle in so many aspects. And I think, again, we've talked about before in the show about cup windows to win. This Leafs team, in the same way, like for example, for Edmonton, these are two teams that cannot afford to take a major step backwards when it comes to trying to win a Stanley Cup. So for the Leafs, we know how it's important for this team to, again, get beyond the second round. Missing the playoffs, which is what this team is most likely going to do right now, their playoff percentage is at, for making the playoffs, I believe it's at 6.8% to make the postseason. And in a year in which, again, you got your major cogs, missing the playoffs should not be acceptable, even though it's probably gonna happen. Like organizationally wise, that should be seen as unacceptable going forward, with this window still open to an extent.
Like it would be heavily considered a critical failure if the Leafs don't make the playoffs this year. And of course, it would say cause an avalanche of problems. So it's like you really have to, if you're Brad for living, obviously, you have to look at this problem with the most serious intent possible in order to make sure that, say, hey, we do not want to be on the outside looking in and then having to basically commit a fire sale at the end of, like, say, at the end of February. We need to do something. We need to do something immediately and
Mhm.
unequivocally at that point.
Because and hey, and folks don't want to hear it. Folks may not want to face it, but in this game, in this sport, the clock is ticking on guys like William Nylander and
Mhm.
Austin Matthews. Even though they're still younger on the younger side, when it comes to winning in Toronto, that clock is ticking.
I think the other big thing too is that, and obviously we were making jokes about this, but this is it's either this year or next year, but This is what maybe one of the last two seasons where the Leafs are still in the Stanley Cup, and that '67 team is still on that cup as of right now. The second 2027 hits, and the Leafs don't win in that season, they're going to be officially erased off of the Stanley Cup, and the only time you'll be able to see them is at the Hockey Hall of Fame
That's right.
or on Wikipedia at that point, because it's like, and like, I don't think the Leafs organization really understands this. Like, it's been almost 50, 60 years. And if you are not on the Stanley Cup at this point, considering the fact that, say, 83% of the original six teams are still on the cup right now. Or, well, sorry, 100% of the original six teams are on the cup right now. 83% will still have at least a winning championship with it, like a winning championship year within 30 years.
Yeah.
Case in point, Montreal in 93, New York in 94. Detroit's last one was 2008.
2008. Yep.
Chicago's was 2015.
Hmm.
And Boston was 2011. Like within, say, 20 years, five original six teams have still won Stanley Cups or have at least had the opportunity to compete for it. The Leafs have not gotten anywhere since 1990 or 2002. We have not seen a conference final or even be able to battle for an Eastern Conference championship in nearly 30 years. Like it's been, or sorry, nearly 25 years. And it's starting to get extremely frustrating to the point where it's like, now this is just apathetic at this point.
Yeah, and I know we talked about, of course, right now, and then the blame game in terms of who do you blame? Do you blame is it on ice? Is it coaching? Is it Treliving? And I know Treliving, when he first came in, was given that leash post Shanahan, post Dubas. But
Mm-hmm.
if this team misses the playoffs this year, that leash isn't nearly as long. I don't think that leash was Treliving. You don't want to be that first GM to miss the playoffs since what 2015, 2016. You don't want to be that first GM to
Exactly.
miss the playoffs since then. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I think Living is still going to be around. Living is still going to be around for next season, but that leash on him is not going to be very long going forward if they don't make the playoffs this year, Dave.
I think the other thing too is that you've heard of that whole survey where it's like they all 32 NHL teams get ranked based
Hmm.
on their affordability and their atmosphere and what have you, right?
Yep.
And the fact that the Leafs are dead last in regards to affordability and atmosphere, or practically dead last in affordability, mind you. It is, if I'm MLSC right now,
Yeah.
that is a daunting thing to see. I understand that, like, yes, we as a city, we have to compete with, like, say, other amenities as well.
Hmm.
Like, for example, there's always something going on in the city of Toronto. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
you're
what
right.
it is. There's a concert, there's always a concert, there's always a protest, there's always a show, there's always a celebrity sighting, there's always something going on. And yet
Hmm.
still, every price in the city of Toronto, every price for a ticket in the city of Toronto is exponentially higher than, say, when you go to a show in Montreal, or you go to a game in Montreal, or you go to a game in Vancouver, or you go to a
Yeah.
game in Edmonton, or a game in Halifax, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say no, you're right, and that it's been a thing for a long time. We know the Bay Street guys in the seats and how you can't get in. That's one thing I think that eventually, Dave, you're gonna run into when that era of the Bay Street fans move on, retire, die out,
Mhm.
etc. You're gonna get a new fan base that is grown up without winning hockey. They've grown up not seeing playoff success. They'll be grown and have kids and not see, like you mentioned. We're gonna have the generation, Dave, of Leaf fans who are gonna have jobs, pay tickets, are married, and will not recall the 2002 run to Eastern Conference Final. Their prime as being mature Leaf fans will be the Matthews years eventually. That's gonna be that fan base. They're gonna be the ones who are gonna be paying tickets going to the games. And if all they know is apathy, if all they know is playoff failure and playoff letdowns, that's going to be a scary sight for MLC in a few years. It will be because those fans are going to see, you know what? I didn't grow up seeing the success. Why am I still going to keep paying money to watch a team underachieve?
No, I agree with that statement completely because it's like say I'm your average Leafs fan, and yet still like I can't even afford nosebleeds. And you
Hmm.
want to know what the worst part about it is? The corporate suits that are, say, sitting in other buildings, like Montreal, for example, Edmonton, Calgary,
Yep.
they're having a lot more fun than they are in Toronto. And it is starting to get ugly. I don't know what's going on in that regard, especially with corporate fans in Toronto, but like that if say if I'm having a business deal in the Bell Center and I'm losing my mind at a Habs game, and yet I have say a potentially like say if I'm working for the same company and I potentially have tickets for a Leafs game, and I'm the only one that's cheering when basically anyone else who's in a suit is still sitting there, basically just like sitting on their hands or not enjoying themselves. That is a real eye-opening sign that like say something needs to change.
Yeah, it's a thing where, like I said, Dave. Actually, for the record, they're actually Toronto's actually 28th in that poll, so they're not dead last. But the point is that when it comes, but you're right, atmosphere is dead last, affordability dead last, 28th overall in the league rankings. But like you said, like I was saying, Dave, how you are one of the last Leaf fans when it comes to seeing Leaf success. Guys like yourself, Reese, Troy, and even Marsh, in terms of fans who saw Leaf success,
Mm-hmm.
you're all of the last gen who remember the Leafs winning multiple playoff series year in, year out. You're the last gen, like that group from 30 to 37, 38, 39. The last gen I remember the Leafs being consistently good for a postseason. When and you're the gen right now who has a lot of buying power. But that like I was saying, that gen after that gen next, the Gen Zs,
Mm-hmm.
when they come through, when they get the money and the power to watch it, yeah, to be the Bay Street people, to be those fans in the average seats, the upper deck seats, watch. And this Leafs team can't keep them engaged like the Leafs of the 2000s and even the first 2010 run did. That's gonna be troubling because, like I said, fans are not gonna put up. We see other markets before. We're seeing it now in Vancouver. We're seeing it in Calgary, where teams don't know what they're doing are going to pay for by fans not coming or fans showing their disdain. And MLSC cannot think they're exempt. We saw it in the 2010s. We saw it with the Ron Wilson years. We saw it with the end of Brian Burke and the waffle throwing. What happens? Now, amplify that even more if we get that repeat in 2026. Oh, Lord, or later. You don't want those years again, Leaf Station. MLSC doesn't want those years again from '07 to 2013. It was bleak. You don't want that repeat again.
I fully agree. And I feel like it's a lot of people will say I'm exaggerating or I'm being dramatic about this, but I feel like it will be a nail in the coffin, or no, an additional nail to the coffin for the Leafs if they A, do not make the playoffs, and B, lose a lot of their buying power or sorry, a lot of their selling power to fans who, love hockey, love the sport of hockey, because it's like the stories where say fans will go to other buildings and
Yeah.
go watch the Leafs and say spend less money than they would in the city of Toronto.
Mhm.
And now it's just like you really have to sit and wonder like at this rate what is left for MLSC to do in order to be able to make sure that like say they can keep fans in the building. Like of course you see the comments, you see the gripes, you see the frustration on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook,
Oh
where
yeah.
like fans are upset about pricing. Fans are also upset about the fact that, there's massive renovations in the building. Fans are also upset that like, say a hot dog is like nearly 14, $15, you know, and a can of beer is like nearly $20.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that whole gripe completely. I mean, as someone who's normally in the building a lot, like I get it. But sometimes you have to pay premium prices for premium amenities, and that's kind of what it is at this rate. That's not to say it's an excuse, but you know, it is something that you are eventually going to have to pay for. Now, of course, is there going to be an option for like say, having cheaper options in the building? Like, of course, fans need to push for that, but in due time.
I'll say this much about Scotiabank. I know in the comments in the Athletic they are saying how the building feels stale. I do say that I do like how Scotiabank has aged. It doesn't feel stale to me. When
Hmm.
I do when I do come back to Toronto to do some on assignments, I do like going there because even though the building is it's what a 26, 27 year old building,
Yeah.
it still does feel young. They did a really good job in preserving it.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel like an old building. It still feels newer. But that is one thing I do get I do understand why fans might have issue with the price because yes, you're right. Stadium food isn't cheap. I mean, been around Scotiabank enough times to know that you know what, hey, it's stadium food prices. It's gonna be like that. But it's a thing where really I think for a lot of fans, maybe not all, but winning is going to get fans to ignore it to an extent. That's the big
Hmm.
thing. Like, I mean, you look at other markets like Edmonton, look at other markets for years ago, Winnipeg, when they had their run there. Like, people can ignore a lot of things for a while as
Hmm.
long as your team wins. If the Leafs were going to the Eastern Final year in, year out, there was a trip to the cup mixed in. I think that noise would be quieter, not totally silent, but it would be quieter if this Leafs team wasn't crashing out in round two every year or round one.
Exactly. Well, I mean, this road trip is going to make or break a lot of things. And if Toronto does not figure it out by the time they come home, and also if they don't get a win at home by the time the Olympic break is done, it's going to look, it's going to be a funeral in the building.
Because, yeah, and that's the thing too is that there's still there's still quite a bit of hockey to be played before. I mean, like I said earlier, like I said at the top of the show, it's clear this team is getting ready to get the fans prepared for a non-playoff year.
Hmm.
But when you do that, yes, you try to let people down earlier. At the same time, though, watching coming to Scotiabank for what is essentially meaningless hockey
Hmm.
when you throw in the towel before the trade deadline, that's gonna be tough to swallow for a fan base as well too.
No, I agree. I fully agree. Well, like if the Leafs are listening to this, get yourself together. Get your shit together. Because if you don't, you're going to have you are going to have a very, very rough summer in this city. And like if people don't want to look at you for whatever reason, like take it from the Raptors, take it from the Jays, take it from TFC, take it from the Argos. You play like trash and you're walking around the city, like you are not going to be forgiven very easily. So I mean, that's something to really consider in this situation. Shifting gears, of course, the stadium series happened back on Saturday. I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday, and of course, walking into the building, the Bruins were dressed as like say actual Patriots from like say the 1750s when like say America was just at it, like in its like say or not even the 1750s, like the 1850s, like as they're like just getting dressed to like literally just walk into like a parliament building and like with like these white wigs and everything and like these old like British style uniforms and it's terrible. And then of course you have the Bucks walking in, or no, you have the Lightning walking in as Tampa Bay Buccaneers players, and it's kind of crazy to see stuff like that. Like it was a lot of fun to see because, like, I mean, the Leafs did the same thing during the Heritage Classic against Buffalo, where they came as like I think it was like oil workers, right? And I don't remember what Buffalo came in as, but
The Oilers were oil workers. Now, now for their game, Edmonton was the rig workers against Calgary. Their game that was Edmonton.
oh yeah, okay, sorry,
Yeah,
excuse
yeah,
me. I
yeah.
forgot what the Leafs came in as, but like I know one year Seattle came in as like fishermen,
Yes.
and like Vancouver came in as lumberjacks, which was
hmm
absolutely sick. But I don't even remember what the Leafs came in as during the Heritage Classic, but like it was really cool.
Yeah, trying to remember. Yeah,
It,
I trying to recall what they came in as.
yeah, it's like it's really cool to see stuff like that. You know, unfortunately, it's kind of tough to come in like say basketball jerseys and Timberlands and what have you. But like I feel like that would be. I feel like if New York's in a Stadium Series game again, like I feel like that would be like pivotal. Like just come in dressed like say you're coming out of Harlem in like 2005. It's like jersey, like oversized jersey, do rags, gold chains, Tims, and just black jeans, just all straight out, and like everyone looking like Eminem at one point or another. But like,
Yo, certain players could pull that off. An entire team could not pull that look off.
no,
Certain
I know
guy.
that makes it even worse because like you have one player coming in cornrows and he's like all the way from like Denmark or whatever or Germany, and he's like, and they're coming in with a Dutch braid, and they're just like, yo, this doesn't feel right now.
Although it was funny seeing the Buccaneers. I saw the jokes about the Lightning as the Buccaneers. I
Yeah,
saw the jokes saying how well it's a bunch of punters and kickers walking in.
Jesus.
Because you're right. Because yeah, it's a bunch of guys who aren't jacked, all white dudes. It was like a bunch of kickers walking in.
Which is absolutely crazy. I mean, they could have figured out something a little bit better, but you know what? Hey, it worked. If it works, it works.
Yeah, and then of course John Cooper and the Lightning coaching staff going full Scarface, full Cuban look. I loved that. I loved the fact that the Lightning coaches went different and said, you know what? Letterman jackets? Nah, we're gonna play into our culture in Florida. I love that.
Right? Yeah, what fedora, like gray, like or just gray jacket, cigar, like even like a Hawaiian like a Hawaiian shirt. It's just
The wide early '80s collars, like that was early late '70s, early '80s collar. That I love that.
that's a lot of fun. And unfortunately, like like it's very hard to do in certain markets, right? But like if you do it properly, it's beautiful. If you
Yeah,
if you do it like say for the sake of doing it, it's terrible.
but that although I did see people saying how when Tampa tied the game into Boston, he called their timeout. I saw the comments saying how players are not bursting out laughing, trying to be serious in the timeout with Cooper dressed like that.
It's very hard to look at someone like that and trying to keep a serious face, Like it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But like, that game was a lot of fun because like what, Boston was up 5-1 at one point,
Yeah.
and then Tampa came back and then won in overtime.
hmm And we had our first outdoor goalie fight with Swayman and Vasilevsky.
I feel somebody on that broadcast team was getting screwed around with really well because it's like, oh, the ice is getting so cold that it's cracking, so they have to heat the ice. And I'm like, someone lied to you on that one. Someone genuinely lied to you on that one. I believe the term is joshing with just joshing you at that point. But they
Oh,
have to heat the ice to prevent it from cracking. Come on, like I don't know, but I think Calgary would like to come in to the conversation and be like, listen, what the bomba clat yeah chat about? But
oh my gosh! But that killed me. But that again, really fun game, and that was the thing where, like I said, I love it when the outdoor games don't take themselves too seriously. I love when they go outrageous. I know next season we're gonna have Montreal and Winnipeg next season. playing Winnipeg. But that's why I love the outdoor games. Lean into the ESPN broadcast team. You had PK and Messi and Steve Levy dressed as pirates on the desk.
which is kind of funny. You know what? I take it. But again, what needs to happen for the streets, Toronto and Montreal at Rogers Center. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's a Heritage Classic game, a Stadium Series game, or even a Winter Classic. It has to be done.
Yeah, I do think eventually. I think eventually you're gonna. I do think they're gonna figure out a way to to make it work. I don't know how, but I do think they'll sort something out to get it to happen. You're right, Dave. The fact that it has not happened yet. We've had outdoor games in the NHL since 2003. And
Hmm.
the fact that it has not happened yet is very surprising. We played 45 outdoor games in total, and not one of them has happened at Rogers Center yet.
No, like I mean, BMO Field is a great environment, right? I
Mhm.
mean, case in point, the Centennial Classic in 2017. That was a lot of fun. But of course, for being in the building, it was a nightmare because like beer lines were frozen, people were freezing, there wasn't enough hot chocolate made, there wasn't enough coffee made to keep people warm. And it's just like, with this renovation at the world for the World Cup, hopefully there's some heaters in other stands going forward now, especially with Major League Soccer switching to a January to December, or no, a
Yeah.
March to December model rather than say, or no, let me rephrase that. They're going from like say your original March to December to like say every other league in the world where they start in July and then end in like say May.
Yeah, exactly. Although I know for a different time, but I'm still just mad about the fact MLS is going that calendar because the rest it works in the rest of the world because the rest of the world doesn't have North American winters. That's why you can do that in Germany, England, Spain. You can do it over there. Like
Yes.
again, I just want to know like have fun sitting in open air. Have fun sitting in open air in Chicago, Minnesota. God bless. Have fun with that. Cause I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
that. Like for a
Like
game.
it's just as bad to do NFL playoff games that late, right? Or, have the typical like super or no, the typical AFC NFC championship game or like an outdoor hockey game around that time. But like to have football in a North American winter, like it's not going to work. This isn't the Canadian Premier League where you can have the icicle bicycle happen every single game,
Yeah, and that was one game. That was one game.
right?
You're gonna like I don't know, like I think it's a bad idea, and I would not shock me if in a couple of years MLS reverts back to their old summer schedule. It wouldn't shock me they backtrack on that
Yeah.
after a few seasons. So
What was your whole thought on the cancer survivor situation that they presented during the Stadium Series game?
oh my gosh. I've never seen a segment for intermission more executed more poorly than what we saw during that same series. For I don't even know how I would for those who missed out on this. So there was father and son who were cancer survivors who were during intermission. They had a chance to win $1 million for a donation, $1 million donation for cancer. If the son first of course, if you've ever seen those intermission segments where someone can shoot a puck through a hole, they win money. Similar equivalent to a donation for cancer charities in Tampa. Similar thing. PK Subban's hosting it, and they tell one of the survivors, "Hey, here's a chance to shoot from center ice, shoot through the hole, get money. Cool." He misses it the first time. That's okay. We'll give him a second chance. Fanfare, cheering, second chance for $1 million donation. Misses the second time. Misses the second time. And normally, when these things happen, the charities, whatever, or legal say, you know what? You know what? It doesn't matter. We're gonna still give you the full donation. Crowd goes wild. Everybody cheers. Everybody's happy. What happens? He misses the second straw from center ice. And again, these are just fans. They're good stories, but they're fans. So of course their shots go wide of the net, of the target. And it's a small cutout. You gotta get the puck through a small wooden cutout.
Hmm.
Instead of giving them the $1 million, they say, here's a check for $200,000 donation. $200,000! You're telling me you couldn't do the right thing and give the full million? You mean to really say in front of live television, tough luck, bud, you're missing out $800,000? Really?
No, that's just solid foolishness at that point, man. Like that's bad PR on
Yeah,
whatever company at that point, man.
I could not believe. Like, I'm watching that segment, Dave, thinking, yeah, it'll be the typical, we'll give it to you anyway. You try, it's good. I didn't think you're actually going to stick by you missed out. Too bad.
It's like, yeah, let me give you 20, let me give you 20% of what you wanted to donate, just out of spite.
I, I'm sorry, but that's gotta be rectified. That's gotta be rectified. That is such bad PR for everybody involved. Of course, not the host, not PK, not the actual survivors, but for the companies, for NHL. You gotta rectify that and get the full $1 million. Stat.
No, I agree. That's just terrible.
Uh, I I can't believe that happened, Dave. They really on live TV say you don't get the full amount. Here is 200K.
Foolishness.
I all I can do is laugh at how just tone deaf that segment was.
I'd throw hands at that point, man. Like I really would. Like
Like,
dead ass. I would
and
throw hands at that point.
and even worse is that happens, and y'all got PK and Baker Mayfield out there hosting it, making them try to spin this into a positive. Y'all got those two out there, basically letting them down the vine to try and spin this in this segment, like as they're hosting it.
That's just bad, man. It's seriously bad. Oh boy. I'm telling you, man, like they need fresher blood when it comes to certain hockey spaces, and like hockey marketing is definitely one of those things that needs like a blood transfusion at this point.
Uh,
Yeah.
like I'm sorry if you're telling me in my earpiece as I'm hosting this thing like PK and Baker were, if you're telling me in the earpiece, yeah, we're not gonna give them, if they miss, you don't get the full million. I'm fighting hard to not cuss somebody out to not cuss them on the back when I'm getting that talk
Right?
back to my earpiece. I'm
No, I
being told
agree.
like,
No, I'd throw hands at that point, man. Be like, yo, listen, we're gonna go backstage, and whoever's in charge, me and you are gonna fight. We're gonna break our contract, and I'm gonna break your nose. Like,
foolishness.
right? Oh man. Anyways, that's not our circus, not our monkeys at this point. All right. Lastly, um, of course, the Olympics are going to start this coming Friday. Obviously, the ice isn't ready, but whatever at this point.
Your saying's good now, so we'll see.
I still call BS on that, man. Straight up. I still call BS on that because like and I have to see it to believe it, right? It's like, anyways, just going back to the Olympics at this point. Who has more pressure to win at this rate? The Canadians or the Americans? Because now that we have NHLers coming back to the whole program, of course, we didn't really get NHLers during the Pyongyang games,
Mhm.
and then of course we didn't get them in Seoul.
Nope.
Now that they're coming back only for like say European countries, which or for a European or an Olympics on European soil, which again I kind of find weird. Sorry, not Seoul, Beijing. Um, and again, not Pyeongchang, excuse me. Um,
Yeah.
At this rate, it's like if I'm Team Canada right now, I'm looking at the situation as a whole, and it's like, okay, we're here to win gold. We want to make sure we do that. The Americans are out here saying we want to beat Canada and we want Canadian tears to be the lubricant for our blades as we skate towards gold in men's hockey. Now, of course, I've seen the NBC commercials. Canadians obviously are still heated from this whole 51st state rhetoric, and of course, with American Canadian American relations frostier than say the polar vortex that hit us last week. Like I'd say there's some animosity there, but there's also like I guess a massive shred of doubt for both of these countries' hockey programs. For example, if you're Team Canada right now, you are going into this whole situation as a defending, well, not a defending medalist, but more just say a perennial favorite at this point. If you're the Americans, obviously you have revenge on your mind, especially with the Four Nations face-off that happened a few years ago. And of course, the Americans have everything to lose, and the Canadians have nothing to lose at this point. So again, it begs the question: who has more pressure on who has more pressure on themselves?
Well, right there, I think you answered that. I think you answered it right there, David. I'll state myself. I think the pressure is more on the Americans because I mean, yes, Team Canada didn't take Hyman, they didn't take Bouchard. I'm not a fan of Jordan Bennington. At the same time, though, I think the pressure is more America because America they left a bunch of their top talent. They left their bona fide locks we all thought at home for physicality or like for they left skill, high end skill for a more physical play. Like and questionable moves. You bring in JT Miller. You leave at home Cole Caulfield, Jason Robertson, Adam Fox. These are not Olympians. And I think if the Americans don't win gold, there's going to be a lot of pressure on USA Hockey and Bill Guerin saying, you left so much good American talent at home. What was your reasoning for this? Why did you not go skill on skill on skill for the Olympic Games in the international style of play? And that's going to be a thing he's going to have to answer for. I think more so than if Team Canada were to lose and Doug Armstrong facing questions of why did you take Evan Bouchard? Why did you take Morgan Geekie? So I think the pressure is more on Bill Guerin than Doug Armstrong.
No, I fully agree with that because it's like we all saw the roster announcements back in January,
Mm-hmm.
or not even January, December, where Team Canada was being announced, and it's like, again, I always make the running joke that like if there's no black kid on any portion of Team Canada or any portion of Team USA, like they're not winning a medal at all. Case in point, the World Juniors. Like if there was no black kid on the team, or sorry, if the kid wasn't, if no kid was black, then the team was whack. Straight up. Same thing. Case in point. Again, look at every single year that we have had, say, hockey championships, and yet still, or sorry, hockey championships, whether it's like the World Juniors, the Women's World Juniors, the men's World Championships, the Women's World Championships, Men's Olympics, Women's Olympics. There has always been a black person on the team, and I know Canadians are very fatigued with this whole anti-black nonsense or what have you. But again, you don't have a brother or you don't have a sister on the team, you don't win. And again, the evidence as coincidental as it is overwhelmingly right in front of you. Tell me exactly where I'm wrong in this situation.
Yeah, no, you're right. Team Canada, Team Canada is lacking in the melanin on that men's national team. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And so is Team USA. Because Team USA, they didn't take sorry, Seth Jones is hurt and they didn't take Jason Robertson. So yeah, the melanin is lacking on both sides of the border for the men's national teams.
Right? But in all seriousness, though,
Hmm.
I feel like with Sidney Crosby on the roster,
Yeah.
Nathan McKinnon basically being the next one in regards to say Canadian icons in men's hockey, right? And then of course you have Austin Matthews in the United States roster as an icon as well. It's like you really have to sit and ask yourself, like, okay, who has more to lose in this situation? Of course, with Mitch Marner now officially being on the team for Team Canada, right? There's no Leaf connect. Obviously, there's no Leaf connection for Team Canada at all. But and forgive me for stalling for a second here. It's just I'm trying to remember who else is on this roster. You also have you also have Connor McDavid on the team as well, right?
Yes,
In this
sir.
particular given situation, it's like administration wise, like the United States has more to lose. Player wise, Canada has more to lose in that situation than the Americans do. But then again, like I could be wrong here. How would you feel about this, Avery?
Yeah, no. I feel player player wise, I still think the pressure is more on America. Yes, this is the first time we're going to see Crosby and McDavid, McKinnon in Olympic Games. This is the first time we're going to see that trio playing in the same game for in Olympic Games. But at least you can argue Canada took a lot of top end talent. Canada at least took it took nearly everybody they should be taking to Olympic Games. The U.S. left gaps in that roster. They left
Mm-hmm.
gaps in terms of the USA roster leaves you scratching your head more than Team Canada. And that's why I say it's going to be far more on Bill Guerin, where if this team doesn't win a gold medal or this team doesn't even podium, Guerin's got a lot of answers to deal with if this team goes home empty-handed or doesn't win gold. Because yeah, the Americans are still going to be a favorite. Either way, don't get me wrong, the Americans are going to be a favorite. But if they falter, there is way more questions coming on Bill Guerin, and there rightfully should be because you can't. I mean, you have your skill guys, yes, but trying to look, but putting in checking as a big factor when you're not playing by NHL rules, to me, it makes my eyebrows raise because you're trying to build a team that's again meant mainly for a Tuesday night game against the Dallas Stars, which to me is a little bit silly. But
Mm-hmm. Well, again, if Canada comes home with the medal and the Americans don't in this situation, then essentially it's a critical failure by the American hockey program. Full stop.
yeah, because
If
like
if Canada and the United States were in the same division going into the Olympics, going into round robin play, then it's like, okay, you really have something you need to deal with in this situation. You know, of course, with with there being only 12 teams in each tournament, and of course there's only three divisions in like in the round robin of everything, like in the round robin portion
okay,
of
own group, yeah.
hockey. Like who's to say that like Canada and the United States get put in the same division on the same draw, right? And of course, like again, we have no idea what to expect in this situation, but like Canada does seem like a perennial favorite. The Americans seem like a dark horse. And of course, the Italian team obviously can
Well, the Americans are a dark horse. The Americans,
very.
well, I would call the Americans a dark horse. The Americans are going to be a medal favorite. The Americans are an actual dark horse.
Mhm.
A real dark horse to me is Germany. That to me the dark horse.
Of course,
Germany,
they'll be on Drysaitel.
yeah, that to me the team. The Germans and the Swedes, those are two. Sorry, the Swiss. Sorry, Germans and the Swiss.
Mhm.
Those to me are actual dark horses. Those two teams.
Well, puck drop does happen on, I guess, what, the Saturday or the following Monday. So after the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So obviously, I'm going to be excited for that. I know we're all going to be excited for that, but we're also going to make sure that we try and make sure we get some coffee in our system because we all know that Olympic hockey is very, very early in the morning, and there's a six
Yes.
hour time difference for
Yep.
6 hour time difference between here and well, here in Ontario and off in Italy.
Yeah. So actually, I'll give you quickly the three groups for the men's play. The three groups are Group A, Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, and France.
Hmm.
Group B, Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, Italy, and Group C, the U.S., Germany, Latvia, and Denmark.
Okay, so that's going to be very interesting. So let's see what happens, and of course, we are obviously going to keep an eye on the keep an eye on the Olympic hockey tournament as it as the Olympics officially get underway on Friday. And on that note, we're going to end things off. Of course, Avery, thank you very much for coming through. Folks, we're going to say thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. Um, Obviously, it was a short but sweet episode tonight, and we will be back again later this week as we get ready for the Super Bowl. Of course, go Seattle, as your boy hates New England with a burning passion. Um, Either way, get your bets in. Go buy some wings. Go buy some chips. Go buy some fries. Or just make sure you have enough food for the Super Bowl. Then, all right. Anyways, until next time, drink your water, mind your business, and deuces.
Peace.